Introduction. When God steps into the arena of justice, he doesn't just balance the scales. He exposes the weight of every act, every word, every wound inflicted. The tears you cried in silence were never invisible to him. Each one was collected, counted, and recorded in the chambers of heaven. And now the same God who comforted you in the dark is turning the tables in the light. He is not a God who overlooks injustice. He is not a God who forgets the pain of his children. He is a God who allows the sowing and demands the reaping. And they are now walking through the very valley they once pushed you into. You see, when they thought they got away, they misunderstood who they were dealing with. They weren't just hurting you. They were touching the apple of God's eye. And when you are the apple of his eye, he does not let the hand that touched you go unchallenged. For every understanding divine justice drop of your sorrow, there will be a moment of their awakening. For every lonely night you endured, there will be a season where they cannot escape the weight of what they have done. This is not cruelty. It is divine accountability. God is showing them the mirror of their own actions. And in that mirror, they see the pain they dismissed, the harm they justified, the truth they refused to acknowledge. God works in ways that terrify the arrogant because his methods are precise. He will not simply let them feel bad. He will let them feel the exact depth of what they made you feel. He will strip away their distractions, remove their masks, and silence their applause until all they are left with is the echo of the pain they caused. They will taste the loneliness they laughed at, the rejection they made sport of, the betrayal they thought was clever. They will understand that you were not weak. You were enduring. You were not silent because you were powerless. You were silent because you trusted the one who fights battles without lifting a sword. The beauty of God's justice is that it is never rushed, but it is always right on time. While you were healing, he was preparing. While you were growing, he was aligning circumstances. While you were forgiving them, he was making sure they could not escape the lesson. Because his goal is not only to defend you, it is to transform them through the very weight of conviction they once avoided. They will be reminded of you in moments they cannot control. They will see your face in situations that echo the pain they inflicted. They will wake up in the middle of the night, not from nightmares, but from the reality of the truth pressing against their conscience. And you will not need to speak, explain, or prove anything. Your silence will be louder than any defense. Your survival will be your testimony. Your peace will be the proof that God's hand was upon you all along. Those tears you shed were never wasted. They were seeds in the soil of God's justice. And now, the harvest is here, not for your vengeance, but for his glory. Not to make you bitter, but to make you whole. Because when God makes them feel every tear they caused you, it is not just about repayment, it is about revelation. And once they feel it, they can never again pretend they didn't know. When you think about the tears that have fallen from your eyes, it is easy to believe they were just drops of water disappearing into the air, leaving nothing behind but the ache in your chest. But to God, those tears are not wasted or invisible. They are sacred records of your story. Every tear you shed in moments when no one else was watching was seen by the one who sees all. Every tear that rolled silently down your cheek while you kept a brave face in public was counted, treasured, and preserved in the divine archives of heaven. You may have thought that your pain passed unnoticed because people ignored it, dismissed it, or pretended it wasn't real, but God's eyes have never missed a single moment of your grief. He is the only one who can measure the weight of a tear. People can see it fall, but only God knows the depth of the heartache it carried, the silent prayers hidden within it, the hopes you feared were slipping away, and the disappointments you didn't dare speak aloud. Each tear is a language your lips could not form. A wordless cry that heaven understood instantly. Long before you had the courage to tell anyone your pain, those tears told God everything. They spoke of the nights you felt forgotten, the days when betrayal sliced through your trust, the hours you battled storms no one else even knew existed. And in his presence, those tears did not vanish. They were stored like precious jewels, not for decoration, but for testimony. You see, when God records your tears, he is also recording the evidence of the injustice you endured. Every tear is a witness in the courtroom of heaven. People can argue about what they did or didn't do to you, but they cannot erase the truth written in your tears. They are proof that something happened, that wounds were inflicted, that promises were broken. And God, being just and righteous, will not allow those tears to. Why your tears are never wasted. Be ignored forever. There is a time when He will open the books and address every single reason you wept. But it is not only about justice. It is also about intimacy. The fact that God notices each tear means He has been near you in moments you felt most alone. Even when the room was empty, you were not truly by yourself. He was right there, bending low enough to catch what the world let fall. This is why you survived what should have destroyed you. This is why, despite everything, there is still breath in your lungs and strength in your soul. Because your tears didn't just fall, they fell into His hands. Think about it. The Creator of the universe pauses to acknowledge the moisture of your pain. The same God who commands the oceans takes time to number your tears. That means your emotions are not too small for Him. Your struggles are not insignificant, and your heartbreak is not something He overlooks. You may feel like your pain is invisible to people, but it has always been vivid to God. And this is why those who caused your pain will face a reality they cannot escape. Because those tears you shed were not just emotional reactions. They were sacred deposits. God has been holding them not to keep you trapped in sorrow, but to weave them into His plan of restoration and justice. The moment will come when every tear will speak louder than their excuses. The same way they ignored your cries, they will now be confronted with their echoes. So do not despise the tears you've shed. They are not signs of weakness. They are evidence of your endurance. They are the ink with which your testimony is written. They are the seeds that in due time will sprout into your breakthrough. And the God who collected them has not forgotten a single one. The day will come when those tears will be transformed into joy. And those who caused them will understand the weight of what they made you carry. Until then, rest in the truth that every tear has been seen, kept, and valued by the one who never misses anything. When someone decides to harm you, to wound you with words, actions, or betrayal, they often convince themselves that it is just about you. They see only a person they believe they can control, manipulate, or discard. But what they fail to understand is that you are not just anyone. You are the apple of God's eye. And when you are the apple of His eye, you are under a divine covering so personal and so intimate that anything done to you is felt by Him as if it were done to Himself. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is the reality of His covenant love. When they touched your life with cruelty, they did not just touch flesh and bone. They touched something sacred. They reached into the space God guards with His own presence. In Scripture, being the apple of the eye refers to the most sensitive, most protected part of vision. If you've ever had even a speck of dust land in your eye, you know how quickly you react to shield it. That's how God responds when harm is aimed at you. He does not stand far off, detached from your pain. He moves to defend, to shield, to restore. And He does so with precision because He knows exactly how valuable you are. This is why the harm they caused is not just a human offense. It is a spiritual violation. It's not simply that they made you cry or left you brokenhearted. They dared to interfere with someone God calls His own. They poked at the very thing He protects with the highest sensitivity. In the courts of heaven, that is not a small matter. God will not allow the dishonor to stand without response. The same way you instinctively blink and close your eyes to guard your sight, God surrounds you when others try to strike. The difference is His defense doesn't just block the attack. It addresses the source. Many times people hurt you, thinking no one will step in. They believe you are alone, without influence, without power to retaliate. But they underestimate who stands with you. God's presence is not symbolic. It is active. And because you are His, the offense against you is registered as an offense against Him. This is why some people who mistreat others suddenly find themselves facing closed doors. The power of God's timing. Unexpected losses, or a heaviness they cannot explain. They are feeling the ripple of divine protection pushing back It is important to understand that being the apple of God's eye is not about living without trials. It is about never being abandoned in them. It means that even when He allows certain seasons to refine you, He never allows them to destroy you. Every strike aimed at you passes through His permission. And if He allows it, He has already marked the outcome in your favor. And when harm comes from those who acted out of pride, malice or greed, God ensures they learn that their actions were not merely against a human, they were against His. Beloved, this truth is both comforting and sobering. Comforting because it assures you that you have never been unprotected even in your most vulnerable moments. Sobering because it reminds those who hurt you that they have touched something they were never meant to touch. And God, being just, will make sure they understand that it might not happen in the way you expect, but it will happen in the way that leaves no doubt that His hand was involved. So the next time you remember what they did, remember also that God took it personally. He did not overlook it. He did not dismiss it. He held it close, not to keep you in pain, but to ensure that every wrong is addressed. Because you are the apple of His eye, and He will not allow what was done to you to go unanswered. Those who caused you harm will one day realize they were not just dealing with you. They were dealing with the one who has claimed you as His own. And that realization will be heavier than they imagined. Life operates under a law that no human can override. What is sown will be reaped. This is not a suggestion, not a possibility, it is a certainty woven into the fabric of creation by God Himself. When someone chooses to sow kindness, they will encounter kindness in return, sometimes multiplied beyond what they imagined. But when they sow pain, deceit and cruelty, they will inevitably meet the harvest of those choices. It may not come when they expect, and it may not arrive in the form they fear, but it will come. The field they cultivated in secrecy will one day yield a crop they cannot hide from. God is not mocked, and His justice is not swayed by excuses or appearances. People may deceive others with smooth words or false humility, but they cannot deceive the one who sees motives as clearly as actions. Every seed they planted, whether in public or behind closed doors, was noticed by Him. And the earth itself is wired to return the fruit of those seeds to the planter. This is why the harm done to you will not vanish into thin air. It is now a seed in the soil of God's justice, and He has already appointed the season for its return. Sometimes it feels like the wicked prosper, like those who cause pain walk away without consequence. But what you are witnessing is not escape. It is delay. God often allows time for repentance because His mercy is as real as His justice. But if they harden their hearts and continue on the same path, that mercy turns into a witness against them by the time the harvest comes. It is undeniable. They will stand in the middle of circumstances that mirror the very harm they inflicted, and they will realize that they are reaping what they once sowed. The principle of sowing and reaping is not just about punishment. It is about alignment. God will not let the balance of life remain skewed forever. He ensures that the weight they placed on you does not go unanswered. Just as a farmer cannot plant thorns and expect roses, those who planted grief will not gather joy. This is why you do not have to scheme for revenge or exhaust yourself trying to prove your case. The system God established is already at work. Your tears, your pain, your endurance, they are all part of the divine process that will ensure the return is measured, fair, and inescapable. And here is the remarkable truth. When the harvest comes, it often speaks louder than any confrontation. Walking in silence while God fights for you ever could. No matter how much they deny or spin the story, they cannot deny the taste of their own crop. They will feel the same emptiness they caused, the same betrayal they engineered, the same isolation they thought was a clever game. But this time there will be no one to shield them, because God Himself will ensure they walk through it. It is not meant to destroy them. It is meant to awaken them. But awakening through reaping is never comfortable. It is a lesson written in the language of consequences. This is why your part is to keep sowing good seed even when surrounded by injustice. You do not want your harvest tainted by bitterness or vengeance. While they are preparing their own return without realizing it, you are preparing yours intentionally. Your faithfulness will bring forth a crop of peace, joy, and restoration, while theirs will deliver a season of reflection, remorse, and reckoning. So, when you remember the pain, remind yourself that God's justice is already in motion. The field is speaking, the seeds are growing, and when the time is right the harvest will appear. Not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. Those who sowed pain will not escape the truth of what they planted. Because the law of sowing and reaping is not just a rule, it is the heartbeat of God's order. And He always keeps His order intact. There comes a moment in God's design where the pain they caused you does not just catch up with them. It begins to live with them. It becomes a shadow they cannot outrun, a reflection they cannot escape. God in His perfect justice has a way of taking the very emotions they dismissed in you and letting them feel those emotions in their own skin. It is not a vague discomfort. It is the same depth, the same weight, the same sting that once pressed down on your soul. This is not about coincidence. This is God allowing the mirror of truth to stand directly in front of them until they have no choice but to see. They will feel the loneliness they once laughed at. They will taste the rejection they once forced you to swallow. They will encounter the betrayal they once justified as necessary or just business. Every experience they mocked in you will revisit them not as a story they hear but as a reality they live. God makes sure of it because He is not only concerned with defending you. He is also concerned with opening their eyes. And there is no sharper teacher than a lesson lived in reverse. This is why some people find themselves suddenly unable to enjoy the very things that once brought them pride. The applause fades. The friendships turn cold. The plans they built start unraveling piece by piece. And they cannot understand why they think it is bad luck, but it is not. It is a carefully crafted season where God matches their experiences to the tears they cause. Just as they once left you standing in silence, they will now stand in silence themselves, waiting for a call that never comes, for an explanation that never arrives. And while they go through this, God will not allow them to forget you. In the quiet moments when they think they have moved on, something will remind them of your face, your voice, your story. They will see you in places they least expect, hear your name in conversations they did not start, and feel a strange weight whenever your memory surfaces. This is not torment for the sake of torment. It is a divine nudge that says this is the pain you caused and now you know what it feels like. The beauty in this process is that you do not have to lift a finger. You will not need to confront them, explain yourself or fight to make them understand. God Himself will do the explaining in a language they cannot ignore. Personal experience. The same depth of pain they once dismissed will become the depth they cannot deny. And, in that moment, every excuse they once rehearsed will sound hollow even to themselves. This is the precise nature of God's justice. He doesn't just repay, He reveals. He doesn't just allow them to feel bad for a moment. He allows them to dwell in the reality of what they created. It is not meant to crush them beyond repair. It is meant to break the pride that blinded them, and sometimes the only way to break pride is to let it live through the exact suffering it once caused. So when you see them walking through their own valley, do not mistake it for coincidence. Do not think your tears went unnoticed or your pain unmeasured. What you are seeing is the mirrored reflection of your own story handed back to them by the one who heard you when you cried alone. And the truth is, no matter how much they try to hide it, they will know exactly why it is happening. Because when God makes someone feel the same pain they caused, there is no confusion, no mystery, only the sharp and undeniable awareness that the scales are being balanced. There is a point in God's process of justice where He begins removing every shield they used to hide from truth. The mirrored consequences of betrayal. Distractions they once buried themselves in begin to lose their power. The noise they used to drown out their conscience starts to fade. The applause they relied on to validate their choices becomes quiet. This stripping is not random. It is intentional. God will take away every false comfort so they have no place to run from what they've done. He will remove the masks they wore so convincingly, the ones that fooled everyone else but never fooled High.